Hey, I'm Tanner Sisson. I am a commercial director of photography here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And today I just wanted to talk a little bit about why you might not want to buy the Ronin 4D. Now, I've had this camera for over a year and I use it on every shoot because it's my only cinema camera. This camera does a lot of things really well. We're not going to talk about most of that today. We're going to talk about what it's not doing super well. Let's start off on talking about the thing that I found most frustrating with this camera. And by no means is this video a slight at DJI. I think they make great products. I think this is a fantastic product. I have loved having this camera. One thing that they could have done that might have helped seems like a firmware issue. If you have a zoom lens on here, it treats each focal length as a separate registry or like a prime lens within the camera, and it actually won't be able to autofocus unless you have it exactly in the same dial position, or if you've created some sort of profile within the camera at that particular focal length. Maybe there's a workaround on this, but I've found it slightly frustrating. In commercial cinematography, sometimes you want to have a quick punch in and you want to be able to keep it in focus. Now, if the lens were parfocal, it would do the job for you. I haven't saved up enough to be able to afford that lens. I bring in my kit all the lights, smoke machines, flagging, stands, just looking what's in my room, Dana dollies, this thing. As far as renting a lens, I've even gotten the ability to do so on a few shoots, and we just ended up not using them because this is so much quicker and we're often pressed for time. In the same component here, we have quite a bit of shake. I'm not sure if you can hear it. There's quite a bit of play here in the actual gimbal. So if you've got it locked off and you're not using the fourth axis and you're not using the gimbal, you've just got it locked off, you've really just got to have it on sticks, because these components in here, they're not tight. And I just wish they were, because it would make my life a little bit easier. I would also love it if they had beefed up the motors or given me some way, even with the counterbalance, to be able to throw bigger lenses on here. There is, and I have it, a cage for the front mount so that I can throw my 600 millimeter lens on here. It's kind of a pain in the butt to set up. Here I am complaining about setup times with a camera that's all inclusive, but ultimately it would be really nice if these were maybe a little bit wider, give you some more space away from the sensor so that you could throw, some of those bigger like Zine lenses. They just run into these railings on the front. That being said, I am planning on making a secondary counterbalance to try to throw some heavier lenses on. So you might find that in a future video. Again, up here, the sensor itself sometimes throws magenta and skin tones, which is a color grading problem. It's not necessarily the sensor's fault. Like I said, it's a great sensor. It's just something to watch out for if you're not a colorist. That being said, the readout speeds with this give you a lot of rolling shutter, the jello effect. I've had it on projects where we really wanted to do a whip pan because, again, comedic commercials is what I get hired for. And in that situation, they just dealt with it. And if you didn't know any better, you might not notice. But for me, it ends up being a disqualifier for this camera as the tool for the job on some of those sets. The actual memory cards are CF Express B cards. So these cards are fantastic. Great readout speeds. Occasionally, my reader will get stuck and it'll not know if it can upload the footage or not, which is extremely anxiety producing if you only have one card slot like this camera does. And that might be just a carryover from my days as a wedding photographer, but it would be really nice if we had dual slots here. That would significantly increase this camera's reliability. I would say even to the point to make more people purchase it. There's a lot of great things I could say about this camera. It has definitely pulled its weight and paid for itself. So if you're looking for it for a B camera, I'd say, man, this is hard to not pull the trigger on. There's so many things I could talk about that would be positive that have been hit on in other videos. I have ran into some frequency issues on the transmitter. If you're using DJI's transmission system and DJI mics, which a lot of you guys are, there's going to be some interference at the 200 gigahertz range, if I'm remembering correctly. And that's just something to watch out for. One more thing I forgot to mention, occasionally I will have a jittery gimbal, and that's not necessarily the camera's fault. If you're not calibrated correctly, you can't expect this tool to work right. And budgeting for more time on set, budgeting to have an AC there to help you and remind you to recalibrate. That being said, we were on such a tight time constraint, and the client got so much footage. I can't even imagine. We had 3 cameras on set, and complaining about jitters in some of the shots. I mean, you've seen what AI can do. You've seen what Premiere can do and DaVinci can do as far as stabilizing footage. I frankly feel like it was a cop-out, but I have noticed on occasion this camera has done things like that. I've actually, since we've been in here, I've have a few other things that I would frankly change besides those. So a lot of times I will throw on a mounting plate for my tripod so that I can set this puppy down. I do run an easy rig, and it clamps on here and holds it, and that still hinges your back, and you still want to set this thing down eventually. What happens when you put one of these plates on is it blocks the ability of the LiDAR sensors to actually tell the gimbal what it's supposed to do. And frankly, the camera does a great job at compensating. It's just when you forget or just didn't have time because it's happening right then, you're doing some reality TV maybe. Yeah, sometimes it gets in the way. Again, I'm Tanner Sisson. I am a commercial director of photography here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I have shows on Angel Studios that I've shot, films on Angel Studios that I've been a part of, and I've shot commercials for legitimate production companies here in Utah with tens of thousands of dollars in budgets. You know, I'm working on getting my way up to working with some of those $100,000 projects where we can afford, you know, better set deck, better lighting, and better crew. And I think one of the things that will hamper you when you have a all-in-one inclusive camera that does so much work for you is you lose out on the opportunity not only to network by having other people on crew on your set, but by experiencing what it is to work with that team and see how beneficial it is to have an AD, an AC, and a gaffer on your set. This camera has some interesting features, I'll call them. Here you have a lock button for the power. If you're not aware of this lock button and you accidentally press it, let's say at the sand dunes when everyone's waiting on you, when you're doing a battery swap and no one else knows the camera on set, you might just have a come apart trying to figure out why the last 3 fully charged batteries weren't functioning. You might assume, oh, the sand got in somewhere and now our whole day is hosed. I'm pretty sure that they've solved this one. It's been a while since I looked into it, but there's actually a power port back here which needs a plug. I have yet to find that cable. Seems ridiculous. It's a power cable. It's not a real accessory. And some of the accessories on this camera are extremely cheap. Some of them are extremely expensive. For instance, the high bright monitors, they will not allow you to output the signal without a $500 adapter. One more thing, if I've got an adapter here and I've put my shotgun mic here, what happens is it runs out and over and it catches up all the sound from the cooling fan on the camera. It would be really cool to be able to set and mount some more things up here maybe so we could get that sound distributed. I know that's going to make it heavier, the actual motors of the gimbal, and then mess with the calibration and everything in that regard. So maybe it's better just to have off-camera sound, but as far as I'm concerned, it basically makes the shotgun mic useless. the constant humming is something that AI can handle. And if you're willing to sacrifice sound quality, I have qualms with you, because, you know, audiences will forgive bad visuals, but they will very rarely forgive bad sound quality. Where you're actually mounting this monitor on the top handle, it seems to have kind of a mind of its own, and it might be just the tolerances aren't tight enough, but I've found that with my old one, that it used to like to walk off. Yeah. Like I said, I have a ton of good things to say about this camera. None of them are in this video. And I hope DJI doesn't hate me for this, because I love your product and I would love to continue using this product. I hope that the tariffs don't get in the way of that. And I just hope that, you know, they keep putting out awesome stuff. I feel like, frankly, it's something to be grateful for, your ability to run up against the limitations of a camera, because that's when you actually get to learn your craft. I was lucky enough to start off with a small APS-C camera. I have only been doing this for about 4 years, and I've had some amazing opportunities to shoot in Africa. I am just super grateful for the opportunities that, and frankly, the ability to even own such a camera so early in my career is pretty cool. So thanks guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video.